Hello, everyone. I'm Chris Kapches, president of Chestnut Park Real Estate, and today I'm going to provide you with the April market report for the Toronto and area marketplace. Generally, when you're doing a market analysis, you tend to look back on the same month a year before. But trying to do that with April's market data is totally futile, because April 2020 we were in the depths of the pandemic, when there were hardly any sales and average sale prices dropped dramatically. So I think it's more fruitful to look at what happened in April and compare it to what happened in March, the month before. And in March, as you probably know from our last market report, the market broke almost every market record that has been kept going back since we started collecting data many years ago. Average sale price was the highest that it's ever been. Total number of sales were the highest that they've ever been. Days on market were as short as possible. So that's the kind of comparison that we have to make in April compared to what happened in March. And it's no surprise that that blistering pace couldn't be kept up in in April, the way it was in March. But having said that, the results in April are also record-breaking for any previous April on record. They just aren't quite as blistering as they were the month before. So if we look at the data, we see that 13,663 properties were reported sold in April, a drop of 12% compared to what happened in March. And marginally, we see the average sale price come down across the board, except for condominium apartments. Detached properties, semi-detached properties, and townhouses were off ever so slightly, marginal declines. The outlier was the condominium apartment sales. Overall, condominium apartment sales came down in the month of April compared to the month of March, but the average sale price actually went up, and it went up both in the City of Toronto and in the 905 region. I think the reason for that is that condominium apartments have been picking up steam over the last 3 or 4 months, culminating, I think, in terms of the number of sales in March, dropping off fairly substantially in the month of April. However, having said that, we actually see the average sale price go up. And that's because the average sale price for condominium apartments dropped so dramatically that it had no place to go. The average sale price in March had gotten up to, as I said, a record of $1,097,000. That's for all properties sold, including condominium apartments. It dipped slightly to $1,090,000 in the month of April. So the interesting thing about all this data is, what does it tell us? We've had almost 50,000 sales in the first 4 months alone of 2021, and we've seen average sale prices get to record levels, as well as the actual number of sales on a month-to-month basis. So in April, we see the market softening a little bit, but softening is a word that isn't really reflective of what's happened. It's a softening compared to April, but April's lofty accomplishments couldn't be kept up indefinitely, so it isn't surprising to see the market come off a little bit. And I think what we're seeing is that we've seen so much buyer absorption in the first 4 months that to speak sort of candidly, essentially there's only so many buyers out there, and a lot of the buyers have, as I said, been absorbed. We've had no immigration in the better part of 14 months. There's been quite a bit of exodus out of the city as a result of the pandemic. So essentially, a lot of the buyers that were out there and the demand that was out there has now been absorbed. So I think that's why we see the sales trailing off from those very lofty heights achieved in March. And also we see a plateauing, I think, of the average sale price because of the following reasons. Interest rates have gone down fairly dramatically between 2019 and the present. There was a study that was completed that indicated that the decline in interest rates gave buyers a boost in buying power of about 22% over that period of time. Over that period of time, we've seen average sale prices go up by over 20%. So it's not coincidental that those two factors are connected. The 22% boost in buying power has now been absorbed into the marketplace. And so unless you see a decline in interest rates, which is not anticipated, in fact, the opposite is true as we head towards the tail end of 2021 and into 2022, primarily because of inflation. And we also have the stress tests coming into play starting June the 1st, almost 57 basis points higher now to qualify. That will also cause a plateauing in terms of how much buyers can pay. After all, over the same period of time, even though the boost in buying power has increased by 22%, that has not been the case as far as wages are concerned. They have not gone up anywhere near that number. So if you combine all those factors, what we see is a plateauing in the number of sales for the reasons that I've mentioned, primarily the absorption of buyers that has taken place, and a plateauing in terms of price. Again, for the reasons that I've mentioned, namely that the boost in purchasing power by the reduced interest rates has now been absorbed into the marketplace. So I suspect as we go forward, this is what we're going to see in the months to come: a plateauing of sales and a plateauing of the average sale price. Very exciting market times, and I look forward to providing you with May's market report, which still will be a market report that can't be compared to May of last year because of the impact of the pandemic. But as we move towards June and July, then we'll be able to do those year-over-year comparisons. So until the May report, everyone please stay well, and I look forward to presenting it to you in May. Thank you.